Well, hello and welcome to the 2007 Race of Champions and the Nations Cup. 20 years this event's been running, just about, and it's never been in the UK, so what a great time to start. And what a great place to do it, Wembley Stadium for the first time. So the Race of Nations, Race of Champions, Nations Cup first of all, and then of course the Race of Champions coming up a little bit later on. There it is, the new Wembley Stadium, and it's a fantastic venue. The organisers have really excelled themselves this year. They've put together a fantastic array of drivers, a fantastic array of champions, but the venue of course has its special place as well, and we can see that Wembley Stadium was being built there to make way for what they're calling the best of the Race of Champions circuits ever. So great to have it here. The legion of motorsport fans this time of year in the UK are really looking forward to some good motorsport, and they're really going to have it. Now, I'm really pleased to have sitting alongside me a guy who, well, he could be down there easily competing in the Race of Champions himself, and he's former British Touring Car champion, Tim Harvey.
Thank you very much, Rob. Pleasure to be here, and what an exciting event. This is always a little bit of fun for the drives at the end of the year, but my goodness, it doesn't take long before they get competitive, because they're all doing it for free, but the old competitive instincts come out, and as soon as the crash helmet goes on and you get behind the wheel of the car, they want to win. And there have been some upsets in previous years as well, and some very strong performances, so some egos are there to be bashed and some reputations to be made, and there the crowd well wrapped up on this December in Wembley Stadium, and a good turnout, I think, for the first time here. A great track after many years in France. Unfortunately, we haven't got Sebastian Loeb here representing France, but we have got a great lineup, and here we see the lineup: France against Norway, Finland against Scandinavia, and Norway, Finland. Well, a great lineup.
It is a great lineup, and of course for the home crowd fans it'll be that England seem to have put out Scotland, Tim, but here we are. We're in the new cars this year. These are these Fiat Abarth machines, which are an S2000 car, and I think the only front-wheel drive car that's competing here at the event today. And here we are, Heikki Kovalainen, of course the winner from 2004 in the Race of Champions, and him and Marcus Gronholm are the defending Race of Nations champions. So front-wheel drive car on gravel tires, Tim. So away they go. I think we've got Kovalainen on the outside. A fast turn into the first left-hander, much quicker around the outside, and then we can see Henning Solberg going on the tighter part of the course. Of course, they're all going to do the same course, but they're going to do it in a different sequence. So Kovalainen was so successful in 2004 when he took the win, and he's always quick, but for him, this is going to be a different type of car, Tim, than anything he's used to driving except for this type of event. Surely Henning Solberg's going to have a little bit of an advantage being a rally driver.
Yeah, you'd think so, but I mean, what do you have to remember? This is a tarmac event, and the racers can learn the track very quickly. So the real skills of rally drivers driving blind on gravel through forest doesn't apply here, and the racing drivers can compete on very equal terms.
They can indeed, as we can see, really working hard every single absolute inch of opposite, or I should say left-hand lock that he can possibly get on.
Look at him on the handbrake there. He's on the handbrake, working the handbrake very hard to get the back end of the car kicking out on the tight corners.
That's it. Now, this is the second time across the line. The first time they come across the line, of course, the driver starting on the inside has an advantage. He's going to get to that line first. So the second time across the line, as we saw there, Tim, we get an idea. There isn't much in it at all.
No, and the driver, of course, coming across the line slightly behind. He knows he's got to push a bit harder, and it's about controlled aggression here. It's very easy to overdrive these things, get them too sideways, be too jerky. You need to maintain good forward momentum, but smooth, controlled, aggressive driving.
Oh, look at this. Kovalainen is so fast. He's just so good in everything, really. And obviously, he made his name in this in 2004 when he wasn't the McLaren Formula One star he's about to be for next year. And of course, about 2000, I think it was, that he beat Michael Schumacher in the final of the Masters karting event in Bercy in Paris. So he's pretty good at making a name for himself in stadium events.
Very much so, and with a new contract in his pocket, driving for McLaren now, replacing Alonso, who's gone to Renault. They've swapped sides, and look at that.
Yeah, Kovalainen
takes it. Solberg very sideways on the exit there, but a good win for Heikki Kovalainen. And I mean, yeah, you're right. In 2004, when he beat Loeb, who was really, Sebastian Loeb was the master of this event, he really burst on the scene.
So there, Kovalainen continues as we'd expect. Henning Solberg, of course, the brother of the perhaps more famous Petter Solberg, former world rally champion, and only about a year in it, but he is the slightly older brother, so a little bit of sibling rivalry going on, I think, when we get to the Race of Champions later on. But right now, they're working together, Norway versus Finland.
Yep, racing for their nation, so a real pride of nation here. Gronholm, of course, this time will be in his own car, his regular car, so he does have an advantage here, but racing against Petter Solberg, the factory Subaru driver, you really have, it's a great event this, you know, where else would a Subaru champion get into his rival's car?
That's right, into a Ford, and here we go, again, you can hear them just holding it high on the revs as they're about to go away. They don't seem to pop these ones off the rev limiter, Tim, like they do with that Fiat, for sure. They use that rev limiter as a kind of as a traction control system, and the way they go, both quite evenly, and you're always going to see the car on the outside going that little bit quicker, because it's a nice fast turn, that first left-hander. The drivers have been commenting so far this year on how open they've made the circuit. Of course, it's still incredibly tight, but it's a more open course than they've had before.
Yeah, it's very difficult, obviously, within the confines of a stadium, and the course has to have that bridge. It has to have a crossover at some point, so they can complete the 2 laps continuously. But they've made a really good effort. I think it's the best course we've seen.
Yeah, the drivers are certainly saying that. And yesterday I noticed in practice, when they were letting the drivers out for their very short practice runs, by the way, that they didn't send them off the line side by side. I think they purposefully didn't want them to be racing each other so soon, and they didn't want them to be able to gauge where the other guys should be. I think they wanted to kind of leave them in the dark as much as possible. But right now, this is the second time around, Tim, so look at this. It's very, very close indeed, but it looks like Marcus Gronholm just has the advantage, as we'd expect in his own World Championship rally car.
Yeah, 0.6 of a second, just over half a second, so very close indeed. That sort of time gap can be made up. Solberg will have seen how far behind he is, and he'll push just that bit harder.
That's it. So Gronholm just needs to keep it together. 0.6 of a second can be lost, it can be gained, but here we are. They're coming around that last corner just now, and we'll see that it looks like Gronholm's advantage is growing as Solberg goes into the fast left-hander around the outside, and Marcus Gronholm just taking it nice and smooth. This car, Tim, looks to be one of the most planted on the circuit. Obviously, they can chuck it around and get a lot of oversteer, but it looks like the one that's the most balanced almost.
Well, 4-wheel drive, obviously, it's got all the trick electronic differentials in it, so it's going to be good on the braking. They can tweak the back end out on the handbrake, and good traction as well. And well, Gronholm extending that difference to win by just over 2 seconds at the end there.
That's it. Now, that's 2 wins for Finland. So Finland, they've pushed Norway straight out of it.
Yeah.
You join us after the break. We're going to see some more action here from the Race of Champions, Nations Cup. Well, we look at Michael Schumacher. We're back at the new Wembley, and the defending champions in the Nations Cup continue on their winning ways. That, of course, was Finland, who we saw putting out Norway before we went to the break. And we're now looking at Michael Schumacher on the grid. In Tim, what's quite an interesting car. Yeah,
new car to the Nations Cup and Race of Champions. It's the Solution F touring car, which is a silhouette touring car, a 3.5 litre engine producing 310 horsepower and rear-wheel drive. So expect to see the guys kicking the back end out.
That's it, and it's Jenson Button, of course, who is against Michael Schumacher here. So England v Germany.
Yeah, we're in the semi-final stages. Earlier in the day, we had the grudge match between England and Scotland, and of course, England represented by Button and Prio knocked out Coulthard and McRae.
2-0 is what 2-0 it was as well. They smoked.
Oh, look at that concentration on Button's face. Wow, does he want this or not? And I haven't seen him blink yet, let alone take a breath. And in the other quarter-final...
Oh, this is close. Oh, who's going to do it? It's very, very close across the line. Well, who had I couldn't see who had the advantage there, Tim, but like you say, I mean, everybody wants Michael Schumacher's scalp, and absolutely everybody. Yeah, okay, you've been out of racing for a while, I don't care. Yeah. Jenson Button wants Michael Schumacher's scalp big time.
Well, don't forget, Schumacher's been back testing the Ferrari, and very impressively as well, not with any view to a comeback, but just to show everybody that he is still the master. And, well, Button with an uncompetitive Honda F1 car, you've got to say, for the last couple of seasons, he'd love to take a scalp off Schumacher while he's still considered that competitive. Germany knocked out the USA in the previous heat.
They sure did, and it was actually
well,
good.
There's lots of noise. What's going on? Button's still going.
I think Schumacher's going to have him, though.
Building up to the last corner, building up to the last corner. Button's on the inside. He's got the shorter run to the line. Schumacher's just in front.
Oh!
Very close.
I'll tell you what, Tim, it looked like maybe Jenson Button had come back on him, but 0.4 of a second. Button will not be pleased, but what a good race to the line.
That was a fantastic race, really good, and the crowd really got behind that home run, didn't they? Look at that.
Very, very pleased indeed. Well, very disappointed, I should say, very disappointed, because I think that's probably a Jenson Button supporter we were looking at there.
So there we see one heat to Germany. It's the best of three, effectively. So now we have the other two drivers. We've got Sebastian Vettel for Germany and Andy Priaulx for England. This is the second heat. So England must win this one to force a tie, a runoff.
That's it. They absolutely have to do that. So all the pressure's on Priaulx now. And he did a good job earlier on in the Aston Martins and got his win earlier to help put them through. But
yeah, I think he was staking his claim to be the next James Bond, wasn't he? He's not happy with just 3 World Touring Car titles. Yeah. He wants to win in an Aston Martin and be James Bond. But Priaulx, another one of the home heroes here, up against the star, a young star, Sebastian Vettel, the Toro Rosso Formula 1 driver, making his Nations Cup debut.
That's it, in a mere 20 years old. And he mentioned to Heikki Kovalainen the other day when they were up against each other, they were drawn for the Race of Champions later. He said, when you won the Race of Champions, I didn't even have my driving license.
Yeah.
So here we go. It's really, really close. The 2 Ford World Rally Championship cars. It's Priaulx versus Sebastian Vettel. And it's
Priaulx
close.
Just in front. Priaulx just in front, but not even 1/10 of a second. So they'll both be pushing now on this second lap. They know there's nothing in it.
Absolutely nothing in it. Less than 1/10 of a second. Very, very closely matched. Priaulx wants to take this. He needs to take it for England to go through. Come on, Priaulx.
It's going to be close. I don't reckon there'll be more than 1 more lap to go. I don't reckon there'll be more than, well, half a lap to go. That gap you see there, not representative, because one car has the inside for each of the laps, and then they to cross over. So that the gap is actually closer than it looked there at that 3/4 stage.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. It's the 2nd and the 4th lap that count. Correct. Visually. The first time they crossed over the line, and it's easy to get caught into that and thinking that there is a gap, but here it is. It looks like Vettel, but Priaulx's on the inside. Is it Vettel or Priaulx? It looks like Sebastian Vettel has made a big comeback there. Just 1/10 of a second down previously. He's beaten Andy Priaulx by 0.6 of a second. And what a great comeback.
2-0 to Germany. So Germany will advance through to the semi-finals to face Finland in the final of the Nations Cup.
It's a very different kind of cockpit for you, the Super 2000.
Absolutely, too close.
So are you looking forward to this race? Is it easy?
No, not at all. It's not my most competition to have close cars. I like to see my wheels.
Are you impressed with your young teammate?
Yeah, I think now he has to help me out big time.
And what about this? Can you see a future in this kind of car?
No.
Thank you.
Well, he thought about that, didn't he? He's not going to be drawn on any kind of future. So here we go. The first final heat, Kovalainen against Schumacher.
Now again, this has happened before, and Kovalainen has won 2004. One of the guys he beat on his way to taking the Race of Champions, I should say, was Michael Schumacher. Oh! Schumacher hasn't moved!
Unbelievable! Schumacher stalled it on the line. Can you believe it? The embarrassment of a 7 times Formula 1 champion at Wembley, the scene of the great British victory over Germany in 1966, and it's a dud for Schumacher.
I think it's all over. It is now. Well, Tim, is it possible he could have had a drive shaft break or something, or has he purely just stalled it? I think he's just stalled it.
Well, I tell you what he's done. He's done that age-old trick, and it just shows Schumacher hasn't lost any of his competitive instinct. He's gone and parked it for a lap, hoping for a rerun. I don't reckon they'll give him a rerun, but I reckon he parked it, a bit like he did in Monaco, you know? He's hoping that they'll stop the session and rerun it. Maybe he can claim a mechanical failure. But no, he's got going now, and he's going to try and put some distance between Kovalainen, who hasn't really got to do anything. This must be very funny for Kovalainen. He's right behind him. He knows he's won because there's no way Schumacher can catch up.
No.
So he's just going to harry him all the way around now.
Must be tempting. Ooh, just to give him a little bit of a tap. But it wouldn't be too much damage there. It wouldn't cause too much problem. And he doesn't have, Kovalainen doesn't have to drive that car again.
Well, trust me, if Kovalainen was a touring car, if he was a touring car driver, he'd be giving him a tap, because then he could say, you know, there I was being held up by Michael Schumacher. Interestingly here, because Schumacher is styling it, he's putting it big time sideways just to style it for the crowd, and it just shows that the smoother approach is actually quicker.
Yeah, front-wheel drive car, Tim, as you'll know. Oh, and Kovalainen adds insult to injury.
Well, you're not supposed to be able to overtake here at all.
Oh, Schumacher must have been pretty nice to him. Well, you know about a bit of bumping and banging as a touring car champion yourself. Tim, go on, you'd be nudging him by now.
Oh, I'd have put him in the wall, for sure.
Now, Tim, these cars, though, must be one of the most difficult ones for them to adapt to, because front-wheel drive and power-to-grip ratio, if you like, probably the most amount of grip for the amount of power they've got. Kovalainen takes the win. The biggest win I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've never seen an overtake like that on the line. That was fantastic.
So, it's all down to Sebastian Vettel now, isn't it? All down to Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah, Schumacher can't help. It now means that Finland have won the first heat there. Germany have to win the next two. If Finland win the next one, they've won.
That's it. Yeah, Germany have to. Vettel has to win this one. But the difficulty is, I think, he's up against Gronholm.
Yeah.
I think he's up against Gronholm in Gromsholm's World Championship car. That's a big ask.
Yeah, that is a big ask. That is a big ask. Which would be good for us, because if it goes to 1-1, we'll have the tie break.
Yeah, we sure will.
See, look at him using the handbrake there for a bit of a handbrake turn. And out the stadium. I like it.
Yeah, it's... So Schumacher, here we go.
This was off the line. Oh, no! He was actually holding it on the handbrake, wasn't he? He was holding it on the handbrake and...
Not enough revs.
Stalled it,
Not enough revs. It's this car...
now he's sitting there. Let's see. He's now sitting there thinking, oh, it's not my fault. You know, what can I do?
And it's this car in particular that what they've tended to do is just bounce it right off the rev limiter, which is like a traction control. Is that not right?
Well, what they're doing is they're sitting it on the rev limiter. They're sulking. Yeah, I beat you. Overtook you even. Now, interesting. It's very different to see Michael Schumacher not in his Ferrari overalls. First time in years. You'll see he's carrying the colours of ICM. ICM is a hospital in Paris supporting brain and spinal injuries, and they're one of the sponsors. He's a patron of it. But here we go. Heat 2, Vettel against Gronholm in Gronholm's old car.
This is going to be difficult for Sebastian Vettel. Sebastian Vettel's been quick here all day long. He was beaten earlier by Travis Pastrana, and they had to have a comeback, Germany, to knock out the US. So he hasn't won everything. But boy, oh boy, in Gronholm's car, he's going to have to really pull something special out here.
Well, he is. With very little practice, you've got to remember, these guys hardly driven these cars at all. So to get in against a guy that's won however many World Championship rallies this year alone, finished runner-up in the championship, recently retired, sadly, Gronholm, going to be a big loss to the WRC. But here we go. 19-year-old Vettel, 20-year-old Vettel now, but made his debut at 19, and wow, what an opportunity.
Yeah, Gronholm, 39 years old, 30 career wins in WRC, quite a few of them in the season just gone, quite a few of them in that car. So Gronholm is expected to really smoke Vettel in this one. And we're going to see in a minute just what the gap is, because it is difficult, Tim, for us to get a visual. Oh, look at this. Vettel is much, much closer than you'd expect him. Much closer indeed.
Yeah, he is. He's only a fraction behind, only 2/10 behind. Gronholm needs to keep the pressure up, but I mean, that's very close. I'd have expected Gronholm to be a good second up after a lap of this, but he's driving pretty cautiously, isn't he?
I noticed Gronholm in practice yesterday that he tends to take a lot of mid-speed corner off. It kind of tends to be a little bit a tentative mid-speed, and then he kind of really fires it out of the corner very effectively. But look at this. Vettel, of course, now that's the gap. I keep getting caught up.
That's the three-quarter gap.
That's the three-quarter gap,
and it's still very close.
Very close
By
indeed.
recent races, that is still very, very close.
I was watching the different techniques, Tim, of some guys, firing into the corner much quicker, taking less speed off the car. Other guys kind of, trying to go in slower and come out quicker. And Gronholm looks very, very neat and tidy. Vettel looks less so, but it's close. It's close.
This is very close. There could be an upset here. There could be an upset. Look at that. Unbelievable. Vettel has done it. He's beaten Gronholm in his own car.
Unbelievable. Gronholm just seemed to be too cautious. We could visually see it, couldn't we?
Yeah.
And then he realized it. He ran a little bit wide on that last corner, hit those barriers, and Sebastian Vettel, 20 years old, takes a victory over one of the defending champion drivers in the race of
Yeah, and he saves Michael Schumacher's bacon and keeps them in it. We will now go for the tie-break runoff.
That's it. So a fantastic performance from Sebastian Vettel. Earlier today, when Vettel didn't win, I think it was against Travis Pastrana, you could see Schumacher was like, come on, kiddo. I'm expecting you to do this stuff. Well, he's really done it well there. All the excitement to come. We've got the final to come. Do not miss this. We'll see you after the break. Well, there we have it. Tim Harvey, we've got the ROC buggies here at Wembley, and look at this, Heikki Kovalainen, Sebastian Vettel, the big runoff.
For the Nations Cup, Germany versus Finland. Listen to those things rev. They got motorcycle engines in, so they go like stink.
Sure do. Just an 1100cc four-cylinder motorcycle, 170 horsepower, but of course they weigh nothing. And these are the cars where we can really see the drivers working. And of course they're smaller, Tim, so they fit around the track that little bit better. They can chuck them around.
Very nimble.
You can be smooth. You can be aggressive with them. This is it. This is the final. The defending champions up against Germany, who've never won it here. Off the line, they look quite evenly matched. Tight corner for the car on the inside. Much faster corner for the car on the outside.
Yeah, and who said motorsport was for old people? We got two real youngsters in this, two stars of Formula One. Vettel, absolutely stunning debut season this year, after a couple of races a year before, but fantastic talent to Formula One. And Kovalainen, now an established star.
Now, Kovalainen, remember the 2004 Race of Champions. He was the champion of that. He's the defending champion with Marcus Gronholm in the Nations Cup. But Sebastian Vettel said in the press conference yesterday, he said, I'm up against Kovalainen at some point over this weekend. I think it was they were drawn against each other in the Race of Champions. He said, when you won your Race of Champions, I didn't even have my driving license yet.
But they're both beautifully neat. That jump is a kicker jump. That's got a bit of an angle to it. Look how close to the wall. They're absolutely on it here. Absolutely. And Vettel, wow, he's got 1.1 seconds over Kovalainen. That is incredible. He is absolutely driving the nuts of it. Beautiful style.
Yeah, he's doing fantastic. And you pointed out there, Tim, it's the entrance to that bridge, going over the bridge and coming off the other side that the drivers have talked about is one of the most difficult places, or the two most difficult places on the track.
Yeah, again, really close to the barriers. He's keeping it tidy. There's just one last lap to go, one last half lap to go, and I think Vettel's still got the advantage.
Yeah, Kovalainen should have had a bigger visual gap then. So he should have had a bigger gap then. So can you believe it? Sebastian Vettel, just 20 years old, up against the guy who's won here more than anyone.
Beautiful lines, beautiful. He's going to do it. He's going to do it.
Yes, he is.
Oh! Kovalainen nearly spins out. Second to last corner.
Sebastian Vettel takes it. It is the Race of Nations, or the Race of Champions Nations Cup is won by Germany. Michael Schumacher had to rely on Sebastian Vettel just a little bit to save his bacon, as you put it, and he runs over to congratulate him.
He is the first one to run and congratulate Vettel. Thank you, well done, he says. Brilliant job, and it was a brilliant job, defeating Kovalainen.
And you called it well, Tim. He was so neat and tidy, Vettel. He was quick, of course, but he was just so tidy.
Really tidy, really good driving, and maximum attack as well. So there we go. Schumacher and Vettel received the Nations Cup.
First time ever for Germany in the history of this event.
And what a debut by Vettel. I think he'll be coming back for a few years to come. And he's still got the individual Champion of Champions event to go.
That's it. So he's got to be probably the favourite. If I was a betting man, I'd be putting some money on him. But we're going to show you that here on Eurosport. Been a fantastic Nations Cup. See you soon.
Sebastian put the trophy down.